So let's talk about a few things. It is a month to go until the Queensland election, and here are just a few big reasons why you must not return this dodgy government to power. You may remember a few weeks ago when we told you about $500,000 worth of taxpayer funds that had been spent by the Palaszczuk government on, among other things, polling about coronavirus. At the time, the puppet Princess Premier, well, she was pretending, well, there's nothing to see here. Everyone does it.
This sentiment is done across Australia. It's done by every state, and it's done by the federal government as well. Everyone just needs to have a cold shower when it comes to this, because every other state is asking a whole range of questions.
Oh, such rubbish. That idiot treasurer is standing behind her with the economic plan for Queensland. But he won't deliver a budget for Queensland until you elect them and give them another 4 years to really tell you how they have been screwing the joint. Well, the man who is central to this $500,000 which has been paid to KPMG is a bloke called Mike Kaiser. Now, Mike Kaiser was Anna Blight's Chief of Staff. Here he is as a former Labor MP. He's been in and around the party for the best part of 25 years. Annastacia Palaszczuk thinks you're an idiot in Queensland. She thinks that despite the fact that there are no new cases for 2 days in a row of coronavirus in New South Wales, the borders must stay up and you will vote for them because they've saved your life, despite the fact they've only created 179 jobs last month. Palaszczuk even went as far as to pretend she doesn't know this person. Mike who?
Can you just provide an update what Mike Kaiser has been doing for your government? And do you speak with him much?
Sorry, who do you mean?
Mike Kaiser.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Who do you mean? Well, the Courier Mail had some reporting over the weekend that she well and truly knows who this bloke is. She has met with him on April the 26th, April the 30th, May the 13th, May the 22nd, June the 22nd, June the 30th and July the 9th. So despite the fact that she has met with him the best part of, 8, 9 occasions, she thinks you're an idiot and she thinks that you won't care. One more time.
Can you just provide an update what Mike Kaiser has been doing for your government? And do you speak with him much?
Sorry, who do you mean?
Mike Kaiser.
I don't know who you're talking about.
7 times in her own diary she has met with him. She's met with him one-on-one, she's met with him with other ministers, she's met with him with senior staff multiple times. $500,000 of taxpayer money was given to KPMG and its point man in the Queensland government, the former Labor MP. What makes it even more ridiculous that she pretends she doesn't know this bloke who's been around Queensland Labor for 25 years, was a former Chief of Staff to a former Premier, was a former member of the same party that she is. She employs his son in her office. Mike who? I've never met this Mike guy, apart from on April 26, April 30, May 13, May 22, June 22, June 30 and in July. This woman thinks you're an idiot. If you are watching us in Queensland, flush this joint. I'll give you the domestos so you can get rid of the stain. Reason number 2 to vote against this government and to flush them from power in a month's time. The Health Department. Now, I showed you this last week, but we're getting even more details here, that while coronavirus was the main focus of the Queensland government, while they supposedly were keeping you safe, running a world-class hospital system, half of the people who were supposed to be paid by Queensland Health weren't paid at all. They were paid late. Now, according to this, and that's, of course, a system run by the idiot Deputy Premier who has a doctorate in unionism, and the Chief Health Officer who thinks that the ACT, because it's geographically in the middle of New South Wales, it was a hotspot. According to the Courier Mail, half of all payments in the March quarter, so when coronavirus was being dealt with, half of all businesses, totalling $203 million, were being paid after they were supposed to be paid. The types of bills that they were paying was for bandages and for food. They go on that in the 3 months to June, another quarter of businesses, 1,700 companies, were not paid by Queensland Health. That was $179 million. Don't vote for these people. And reason number 3, the Bruce Highway. It's a dog track. You know this, as soon as you start to go further north, it gets worse it goes. Well, this is a road that must be upgraded and should have been upgraded in the 2 terms of this government. But instead, they didn't spend $12 billion on infrastructure. Instead, they spent $12 billion growing the public service. The $12 billion that they have paid for more public servants could have, according to the Courier Mail, paid for 2 cross-river rail projects, 5 duplicates of the Pacific Motorway, 40 Townsville stadiums. 40 Townsville stadiums. This Premier thinks you are an idiot. I know you are not. This Premier might think that everything's A-OK, but it ain't. Pretending not to know a bloke that she met 7 times whose son she employs in her office, a treasurer who has an economic plan for Queensland, but he won't actually deliver the budget until after the election, a health system that's run by people who pay companies half outside of the 30 days they're supposed to do it, and $12 billion spent on more public servants, not things that make Queensland life any better.